insured at the highest level to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND. That's 833-VANS-IND. Or on the web at vansindustrial.com.
Get the best sleep of your life. Helix makes personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off during their holiday sale.
It is 7:37 and a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Jim Telemonti.
Northbound I-57 traffic is jammed. 159th to 147th where all traffic is forced off. That's Sibley, 147th there in the Harvey area. Major crash and ongoing investigation. The Bishop Ford Freeway is relatively light as an alternate, looking at about 20 minutes from 8094 to the Rhine. The Edens runs 21 minutes like Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy, 42 minutes O'Hare to downtown. No savings in the Express, though. Eisenhower, 45 minutes, 390 to downtown. Stevenson, 50 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State delays are from the 83rd Street toll to the Mylong Bridge and from Reagan Tollway to the Grand Avenue Curve. Northbound Veterans Memorial, 63rd to the Reagan Tollway. I'm Jim Telemonti. On AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Mostly cloudy for the day. High 42. Currently, we have mostly fair skies. 33 at O'Hare, 36 Lakefront. And your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the leader at the turn is Bolshevik Bernie, and he closed the show, making his final argument, so to speak, yesterday with a video posted featuring White Stripes as a seven-nation army. So he's hip and cool because he's the only one with voters under the age of 45.
You can tell how good I feel by how nervous the establishment is getting. Suddenly, Donald Trump is talking about our campaign. Suddenly, we have the Democratic establishment very nervous about this campaign. We got Wall Street nervous. We got the insurance companies nervous. We got the drug companies nervous. We got the fossil fuel industry nervous. We are their worst nightmare. Millionaires going on television crying that they're going to have to Could there really be a political movement in America which brings together blacks and whites and Latinos and Asian Americans and Native Americans, gay and straight, to stand up as working class people fighting for change?
Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your affiliation with the Democrat establishment is the message. And it seems to be resonating, according to most recent surveys in the early states, Iowa and New Hampshire specifically, but not limited to Iowa and New Hampshire. As I mentioned, we talked about earlier in the show, lapping the field in California right now. The delegate sweep there would be something. And
what about Nevada, too?
He's right there with Biden in Nevada. So could Bernie Sanders actually be a snowball rolling downhill after the first two states? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Chris Smith, author of The Daily Show, the book, An Oral History as Told by Jon Stewart, the correspondent, staff, and guest. He's also a contributing editor to New York Magazine and a contributor to Vanity Fair. Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. So did you actually bet the Chiefs?
I did bet the Chiefs. Yes.
He's a great gambler.
Congratulations.
Yes. I wasn't selfish either. I said on Friday to our friends and listening audience,
you said
take the Chiefs and lay the 1.5. That's easy money. Pat Mahomes is special.
Well,
you always go with the special athlete, and that's Pat Mahomes. So there you go.
And Kansas City, that's in Illinois, right?
Yeah. Kansas City's in Kansas,
there.
but President Trump deleted that tweet and then put it in.
But Illinois is one of the 57 states, Chris. Okay, go back and forth all day on this. All right, so give us your handle on Bernie and whether or not
the establishment of the Democratic Party, which has been worried about this for a couple of weeks. They saw the tide turning in his direction and continues to be, per an op-ed by Rahm over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal. They're right to be concerned, aren't they?
Oh, for sure. And the only surprising element in this to me is that they were so slow on the uptake. I mean, I wrote about this 6 months ago, and Vanity Fair, that Bernie's hardcore support is still with him from 2016, and that's a very solid base of about 20%. And he's run a fairly smart campaign and added some star power to it with AOC and Michael Moore. You know, whether you like them or hate them, they certainly attract a lot of attention. And the opposition, you know, has been running, a lot of them, Klobuchar, Biden, Buttigieg, in a crowded, moderate, centrist kind of lane. And Warren's started out strong and then fumbled around. So Bernie's, you know, got a message. He's got a hard core of support. And it's shocking to me that the establishment and the other candidates in the race waited so long to go at him directly. And I think it's too little too late.
Yeah, but then he had a heart attack in the middle of that 8 months, and I thought, you know, that it was over for him. Didn't you at all? I mean, because then his name was out of it, and then impeachment trial started, and you didn't really hear a lot from the candidates.
I did, yes, and that seemed like both physically and politically that was going to be a major setback. And, you know, don't wish ill health on anybody in politics of any stripe. And in a strange way, his recovery, which appears to be complete, has helped humanize him a bit, both on the campaign trail. He's a little looser and more empathetic than he had been in the past. Oh. And it made him, you know, a more interesting story. It added an element to the narrative that the media always likes. And, you know, the human element to the story is one of the things he was missing in 2016 against Hillary. And I don't know, you may see people trying to make more of his age and his health if he actually does win Iowa. But again, it's after 6 or 9 months of laying off him, it's not going to have a whole lot of effect.
Well, and here's the thing, too. I think there was an underestimation of the stickiness of the Bernie supporter from 2016. Oh, he came as close as he did to the nomination just because of the distaste for Hillary. That's certainly a part of it, but the other part of it was, no, they really like Bernie, and he gets credit for being ahead of the learning curve and taking on Hillary, taking on the Democrat establishment that a lot of the base of the party wants taken on or replaced or refashioned. And so he comes to the table with not just a base from which to fundraise in 2020, but also that credibility that you can't otherwise buy, even if you're Mike Bloomberg.
Certainly. And his theory of the case, whether you like it or not, has been loud and clear and consistent. And the contrast with Trump for the past 3 years has only helped Bernie. Now, all that comes with a big asterisk. I was in Iowa much of last week, and there are a lot of undecided folks. Mm-hmm. You know, you see it in polls where 43%, the most recent one I was looking at, said they're not 100% sure about their choice. And the weirdness of the Iowa caucus process with second choices and people publicly, you know, identifying their support, there is a lot that's going to be in flux here right down to the end.
Any hope for Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Our former intern at Channel 5. I can't pronounce his name.
Mayor
Never have
Pete.
been able. Because I thought maybe he'd gain some
Pete.
traction once the 4 senators were away at the impeachment trial, because I used to live in Iowa, and Iowans love face-to-face time, and he had a lot of it those 2 weeks.
Certainly. Yeah, that's definitely working in his favor. Also working in his favor is that he's been trying to sell a unity message that he's going to bring everyone together after Election Day. And the squabbling that we've seen renewed between largely Biden and Sanders and Warren, may play to his advantage, that he's a more anodyne, palatable, middle-of-the-road kind of candidate. His youth certainly helps him. The fact that 3 of the contenders are in their 70s is not popular with a lot of voters. If you told me a year ago that the former mayor of South Bend had a real shot at finishing a strong second in the Iowa caucuses, he would have to count that as an enormous victory.
It's the interesting piece in the New Yorker about Bernie Sanders being the front runner, and the authors of this piece write, it's common to describe the present split within the Democratic Party as pitting its left against its center. A different way to put it is the party is split between its likely future and its current reality. An Emerson poll of Iowa this week found 44% of Democrats under 50 support Sanders, 10% favor Warren. No other candidate is in double digits. You'd think a growing coalition of this size would be enticing to other Democrats, but it's not. Sanders is not being endorsed by very many of his colleagues at whether the federal level or even at the state level, as compared to some of his other competitors. So it's very interesting that there's this momentum, there's this coalition that he has that is largely young, at least relative to his opponents, and yet so many Democrats want to stay far away from him.
Yeah, I don't know that they want to stay far away from it so much as they haven't done a very good job of figuring out how to get closer to it. And, for Bernie, that's meant a very sharp economic inequality message, a very sharp sort of cultural and racial equality message, and the rest of them have not been willing to go in that direction. I mean, Bernie has also, for 4 years, starting in 2015, 2016, done a really sophisticated job of reaching people on the web, of, organizing his campaign at a grassroots level. And the rest of them, have tried, but have not broken through on that front.
And with respect to Biden, when does Obama-land get more involved than just dispatching John Kerry to Biden if it does turn out to be sort of Biden versus Bernie binary?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you would think in New Hampshire and in Nevada, we've seen a little bit of that already in Nevada. But if it's neck and neck, that's one thing. If Biden stumbles here in Iowa, the real dynamic I think you're going to see, and there's already signs of it from folks I've talked to in that Democratic establishment, is people looking very quickly to Mike Bloomberg as a savior, that he's got unlimited money, he's got a deep record, far from perfect, as a 3-term mayor of New York City. And he's also clearly gotten under Trump's skin very quickly. And
could you see
Biden
those two?
falters, I think they go running to Bloomberg.
I mean, can you imagine Bloomberg and Trump in a debate? Two bombastic New Yorkers screaming. I mean, it would be a circus.
Well, I don't know if Bloomberg is bombastic. He's sort of the anti-Trump charisma-wise, but
he's feisty.
Right. There'll be a lot of sparring, as there was over the debate box comment already. But here, the thing about Bloomberg that's so interesting is, aren't they playing right into Bernie's hands again, as they did 4 years ago? You had them railing against Bloomberg buying his way into the debate stage over the weekend. You had them railing against John Podesta being named to the DNC committee. I mean, aren't they setting up the very choice that Bernie wants set up?
Yes, you're exactly right. I mean, the Bloomberg candidacy is a gift to both Bernie and to Trump. To Bernie in the sense that if, as looks likely now, Bernie comes out of Iowa and New Hampshire strong, he would love that contrast of, us not me versus the Wall Street plutocrat in the remaining Democratic primaries. And then, further down the road for Trump, the Bloomberg candidacy is a good thing because it just muddies the field and creates more chaos on the Democratic side. The longer that continues, the less the Democrats are coming together behind a single nominee. the better that is for Trump. So, yeah, he's been taking a lot of personal sort of insult shots at Bloomberg, but there's a method to it. You know, just stirring the pot, keeping things chaotic on the Democratic side benefits Trump.
He is Chris Smith. He's the author of The Daily Show, the book, An Oral History as Told by Jon Stewart, the correspondent, staff, and guests. He's also a contributing editor at New York Magazine and Vanity Fair. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. And my daughter just got into Northwestern, so
that's where I
we'll
went.
see you soon.
Oh, that's where I went. Yeah. All right, boy. Well, keep writing those articles. That's $270,000 you just signed up for.
No kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
Balance of nature has pushed me up a notch or two, I would say. I was feeling fine, but now I'm feeling even better. So I'm sure it's contributed.
I actually lost 2 inches off my waist. I'm really